State calls Investigator Dylan Hightower.
Raise your right hand and left hand. Do you affirm the testimony about to give the court in this trial shall be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Take the seat on the witness stand. State your name again for the record. Spell your last name.
My name is Dylan Hightower, Hightower.
Investigator Hightower, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Where are you employed, sir?
I currently work for the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office as an investigator. I also supervise the Criminal Intelligence Unit within our office.
All right, well, what is the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office?
The District Attorney of the 14th Circuit, which is comprised of 5 counties, Allendale, Beaufort, Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper counties. Our office handles all general sessions related criminal offenses in court.
All right. And specifically your role as an investigator, what are your duties at the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office?
Yes, sir. My duties are to prepare cases for trial, locate and identify witnesses, interview witnesses, obtain any additional evidence that may be needed prior to trial. We also prepare witness testimony for all of our potential witnesses for all of our trials. Also, outside of preparing cases for trial, I assist with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies with active and criminal investigations.
Okay. And can you just briefly describe your background in law enforcement that led to your employment at the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office?
Yes, so in 2010, I graduated from the University of South Carolina in Columbia with a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology. Soon thereafter, a criminal intelligence position became available within the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office, to which I then applied and accepted. Initially, when I first was hired, I attended a 4-week on-the-job training at the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division in the Fusion Center for Criminal Intelligence Analysis School. Afterward, I attended the PenLink Call Analysis Training Center there in Columbia as well. In 2013, I became a Class 1 certified law enforcement officer. In 2014, I attended the ETS Fundamentals of Call Detail Record Analysis in Pinehurst, North Carolina. In 2015, I attended and became a Sustained Secure View cellular forensics operator to obtain the evidence from a specific device or telephone, cellular telephone. In 2016, if I may refer to my notes? For
Yes.
timing. Later on in 2015, I attended a course, Gladiator Cellular Forensics course, where we learned about ESPA and GAR. ESPA stands for Enterprise Sensor Processing and Analytics. GAR stands for Gladiator Autonomous Receiver. Essentially, that class taught us to use specific devices and software to identify digital footprints of cellular towers within a specific area. In 2017, I attended a operator course for Black Bag Mobilize, which is a forensic tool to extract data off of a cellular telephone. In 2018, I attended the FBI CAST. CAST stands for Cellular Analysis Survey Team, on a class involving historical cell site analysis, which identifies tower activity, tower orientation, sector information of incoming and outgoing calls on a specific telephone number.
And Investigator Hightower, I'm going to stop you there. So as part of your job as investigator at 14th Circuit, your role is to help with cell records and cell tower information, correct?
Yes, sir, among other things.
And you've also had training on downloading and doing extracts from phones as well, correct?
I do, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Is it unusual for you to respond to murder scenes in the 14th Circuit?
No, sir, not at all.
And you've personally met the defendant in this case, Mr. Alex Murdaugh, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And does Mr. Alex Murdaugh, or at least at one point, have an association with the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office?
Yes, sir, he did.
What was that association?
He was identified as a volunteer solicitor within our office.
All right. And when you say assistant solicitor, what does an assistant solicitor do?
They prosecute cases in General Sessions Court.
And you've, in your role, you've participated in a number of trials before, correct?
I have. I've been doing this for approximately coming up on 12 and a half years.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to participate in any trials with the defendant, Richard or Alexander Murdaugh?
Yes, sir. There was one.
All right. And approximately when was that?
Probably 2015, 2016. It was a murder case out of Hampton County.
And what role did Mr. Alexander Murdaugh fill in that case?
He was essentially one of the prosecutors on the case. His father, Randolph Murdaugh, was technically the lead on the case and who I spoke with and met with prior to my testimony in the trial.
Okay. All right. Let's move forward to June 8th of 2021. You recall that day, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
And did you have an occasion to respond to 4147 Moselle Road here in Hampton or Colleton County?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And briefly explain how you became involved and why you responded out there on that day.
So that morning, multiple phone calls were crossing through multiple employees throughout our office regarding the incident that occurred. We being myself, two other investigators, my solicitor and my deputy solicitor, traveled to Sled Low Country here in Walterboro and attended a briefing involving all the law enforcement agencies responsible for the investigation. During that briefing, we learned more about the particulars of what had occurred, and then afterward, we had all traveled together in multiple vehicles to 4147 Moselle Road.
Okay. So yourself and several other 14th Circuit investigators responded, correct?
Yes, sir. I drove with one other investigator riding with me. One additional investigator met us there. Captain Ryan Neal with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division was in the vehicle with Solicitor Stone and Deputy Solicitor Thornton.
And now, you just testified that it's not unusual for you yourself to respond to murder scenes, correct?
No, sir. And all of the murder cases that I've been involved with and any type of criminal proceeding, probably 95% of those scenes I've actually gone to.
Okay. And was it unusual for the solicitor to respond to a scene that quickly after an incident in your experience?
No, sir, not at all. Again, we, as a staff involved with the prosecution team, we would always travel to a crime scene if we go to a courtroom.
All right, and just so it's clear, I don't know if you said it yet, but who is the solicitor of the 14th Circuit?
Solicitor is Duffy Stone.
And he'd be your direct boss, right?
I go through the Deputy Solicitor, Sean Thornton, but
He'd be the ultimate boss.
the ultimate boss is
Okay.
Solicitor Stone, yes, sir.
All right. And once you got to the scene, what did you do?
Once we arrived on scene, we met with Captain Ryan Neal, kind of all in a group. Captain Neal then walked around the scene and kind of noted different points of view, different pieces of the crime scene had already been relinquished at that point by the crime scene agents. There was no crime scene tape up. It was wide open. There are multiple members of the law firm there, other SLED agents as well. We had all kind of walked around the scene, around the barn, around the kennels, identified the points of interest of where each of the bodies were with Paul and Maggie, and then kind of circulated around the property and got a better visual of what all actually occurred.
Okay. And while you're there, did you bring any equipment with you to help aid in the investigation?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did you bring?
Our 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office drone.
Okay. I'm going to show you some pictures. Let's see, they are marked Exhibit 242, 241, 240, 239, 237. Get these papers apart. 238. Do you recognize those pictures, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and what are those pictures?
This is drone imagery of the scene right around the kennels and the general vicinity around the kennels.
And that was from a drone you operated?
Yes, sir, it is.
And about what time do you recall that you took those pictures and what day?
It was on June 8th of 2021 between 1:30 and 2:30 p.m.
Okay.
that afternoon.
Take those back from me. Look at them exhibits 242, 241, 240, 237, 238, and 239.
They're admitted without objection.
I'll need the Elmo, please. Okay, can you see this picture on your screen, Investigator Hightower?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right, and what is this image of?
So this is closest, kind of in the direction of the house, looking back towards the hangar area, as well as the dog kennels off to your right. My vehicle is right dead center in the picture, and then other SLED agents' vehicles were over on the left.
Okay. And I'm gonna ask you to step down real quick to point out a couple things, if you don't mind. All right, and you might have to step over those boxes, but can you point out, from what you were told when you're on scene, approximately where Paul Murdaugh's body was found on that picture? However you need to.
Paul's body was right here near the dog kennels.
Okay, and where was Maggie's body?
She would have been right under this area over here, just on the corner, around the edge.
And you testified by the time you got to the scene, the SLED crime scene, you cleared it, and it departed, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you say, you can take a seat again. When you say that crime scene had cleared, what does that mean to you?
It was no longer an active crime scene. Once the crime scene tape is removed, it's no longer active.
So other individuals could walk and view the crime scene at that point?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right, and that was Exhibit 240. And I'm going to show you Exhibit 241. And that's the same general area, a little bit closer on where Maggie and Paul's body were, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. All right, and now I'm going to show 242. All right, and that's a little bit lower angle, looking at the same area where Maggie and Paul's body were, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, all right. And I'm going to show you Exhibit 239. Okay, what is this? What is this angle? What is it looking at? And in fact, if you want to step down again and point to the jury, what? That glare is pretty bad. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so at the top of this picture, in kind of the center, what is that?
So this here is the residence of 4147 Moselle Road. That's the actual residence. This is the field between the residence and the kennels. Again, the kennels, the edge of the kennels is right there. You can see the top of the hangar there as well. So this is a direction looking directly over the hangar, pointing directly back towards the residence.
All right, and I'm gonna ask you to sit down a second, but I want to call your attention to this line of trees right here. You see that, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, in this picture, you can take a seat. This picture was taken again when?
These were taken on the afternoon of June 8th, 2021.
And we see some pine trees kind of running diagonally between the kennels and the house, correct?
Yes, sir, you do.
And you were out there at the scene personally, correct?
I was.
And from the best of your recollection, can you remember the approximate height of most of these trees at that time?
I would approximate probably 6, 7, maybe 8 feet on certain ones, but you did get a clear channel or clear view back towards the residence.
Okay. And you've been out there more recently, haven't you?
Yes, sir, I have.
And did you notice any differences with those trees, at least present day, compared to June of 2021?
Yes, sir. It's much more overgrown than what it looks like in that picture.
Have those trees grown higher?
Much higher, yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to show you, this is going to be Exhibit 238. And this is approximately the same angle, correct?
The same angle, just the drone shifted backwards a little bit so you could actually see the full hangar, the full kennels,
Okay.
as well as the residents.
All right. And finally, I'm going to show you Exhibit 237. All right. And what angle is this in relation to the others?
So the idea behind this was to identify both driveways accessing the residence as well as accessing the barn area. So this is further back, kind of closest to the field area, looking back towards the hangar, the dog kennels, and the two driveways that you could travel or arrive onto the property.
And this gives a good angle of those trees we were just discussing to show how closely they're spaced, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. Let's step back a little bit chronologically, a little earlier in the day of June 8th, 2021 for you. While you're at the scene, did Maggie's cell phone come up in conversation?
Yes, sir, it did.
All right. Describe the context of that. How did it come up, and who was there when it came up?
It was during the general overview of the scene. We started asking questions about pieces of physical evidence that might have been identified. I learned at that time that Paul's phone was found on him, and Maggie's phone was not located anywhere near the scene during scene processing. So therefore, I explored other options to try and identify where her phone may be.
And you testified a while ago. You've got pretty extensive training and experience dealing with cell phones, correct?
Yes, sir. Every case, I would say 95% of all of our cases we put to a courtroom involve all forms of digital forensics, cell phone extractions, cell phone records, things of that nature. It's a part of our everyday life.
So with that background, when you learned Maggie's phone was missing, did you have any ideas?
I did, yes, sir.
What idea did you have?
Knowing that they were the Murdaughs were a close-knit family, I figured one of the family members might have had her direct location on Find My iPhone, knowing that they all utilized iPhones.
And did you communicate that idea to anybody?
Yes, sir, I did. I spoke with John Marvin Murdaugh on scene.
All right. And what did he do in reaction to your suggestion?
He believed that one of the family members did have access to Maggie Murdaugh's phone location via Find My iPhone. He left for a few minutes, short minutes, and came back to me with a cell phone believed to be Buster Murdaugh's phone.
You're not 100% positive whose phone
Not
it was?
100% positive.
All right. And what did you do once this phone was handed to you by John Marvin?
I took possession of the phone, obviously looked at the virtual map, walked in the direction of where I believed it to be to see if it might be in the general vicinity of where we were around the dog kennels. As I walked probably 30, 40 yards, I realized I was much further away than I originally anticipated. So I then went back to my vehicle. I got in with John Marvin. I had possession of the phone the entire time. Two of our other investigators, Solicitor Jojo Woodward and Investigator Donnie Hutto, rode with me back towards the general area of where the device was showing.
Okay. And so you had this family phone the entire time, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you were tracking to where Maggie's phone exactly was?
I was driving and looking down at the phone, making sure I was going in the proper direction.
Approximately how far did you drive?
About a half a mile from the entrance to the barns,
Okay.
the driveway to the barns.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 227. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. And what is that?
That's an overview from Google Maps that shows both the residence as well as the general location of where I ultimately located Maggie Murdaugh's phone along the edge of Moselle Road.
And you prepared that?
I
to show
did.
the location?
Yes, sir.
All right. And state moves 227 to evidence. Okay, can you see that on your screen, Investigator Hightower?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right, we're gonna ask you to step down one more time. All right, on this overview, can you point out where the residence is for 4147 Moselle?
The residence is here. You can see the driveway here as well. And then the kennels are up here.
Okay, and there's a marker on there, correct, that says general location of phone?
Yes, sir, that'd be right here.
All right, and that's where you found Maggie Murdaugh's phone, correct?
Yeah, so I was walking, when I was trying to get a better idea of where the phone actually was, I was walking up and down the driveway here to the kennels, obviously looking down at the phone, trying to identify the general location. Once I started to realize the phone was much further away, that's when I jumped into my vehicle. I turned and went southeast of the residence area. Once I got to this specific area where the field kind of opened up, I started getting closer and closer to the blue dot that you would see on Find My iPhone. Once I got closer and closer, we all got out on foot and walked the property to identify where that phone was.
Okay, and you can take a seat. And I'm going to hand you exhibit 236, 235, 234, 233, 232, 231, 230, 229, and 228. Do you recognize any of those?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and what are those?
These are photographs that I took of Maggie Murdaugh's phone as it was laying in the brushed area or leaved area closer to Moselle Road, about 15, 20 feet away from Moselle Road.
And did you ever personally pick up Maggie's phone?
I never touched the phone. Once I identified the location of where the phone was, I contacted Captain Ryan Neal with South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. He sent a team with Special Agent Katie McAllister and Special Agent Jeff Croft to take possession of the device.
So when you took these pictures, Maggie's phone had not been touched, correct?
It has not been touched, no, sir.
All right. At this time, state's going to move exhibits 236, 235, 233, 231, 228, 227, 230, 232, and 234 into evidence.
No objection.
They're admitted without objection.
Okay, I'm going to show you first exhibit 230. All right, and in the center of this, I see two orange flags. Do you see those?
Yes, sir, I do.
What are those orange flags?
So once I located the device, I found some standard landscape flags laying around. I then obtained those, walked over towards where the phone actually was, put one towards the phone and one kind of where you could see from the roadway as the SLED agents were responding to collect it.
Okay, so where was Maggie's phone in relation to these two orange flags again?
So it'd be the furthest one away. This is just a point of view from the street looking back towards where the phone was.
Okay. And we see, looks like pavement in the foreground, is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is Moselle Road.
And so that represents the edge of the road, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
All right. And just so it's clear, is this the north side of the road or south side of the road?
This would be,
Well, let's go back to the map. let's go back to exhibit 227. So is this represent north-south is up and down on this map you prepared?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, all right. So is the phone found on the right side of Moselle Road on this picture or the left side?
It would be on the right side
Okay.
from this angle.
Okay, I'm going to show you exhibit 234. And do you recognize what's in that picture?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. And right in the center of that picture, what is that?
That is the Apple iPhone that actually had a camouflage case with an orange tint to it, and there was standing water on top of the screen.
Okay. And I see a little black area if you look up and left of the phone in the center of the picture there. Do you know what that was, or was that anything significant?
I don't believe it was anything significant. From what I recall, it might have been a bottle or something of that nature.
Okay. I'm going to show now exhibit 231. Okay. And I believe in the center of this picture, towards the bottom, what is that?
That is the cell phone identified as Maggie Murdaugh's phone.
And we see a orange flag just a little bit in front of it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. And is that the orange flag you placed?
It is.
All right. And then in the distance, I see a line, a white line. It doesn't show very clear on the Elmo. But what is that? And I can bring the picture to you if you need.
Well, I could explain what this picture is of, looking back towards, because based off the glare, I can't even see the roadway.
Right. I'll show you. Okay. What? On this this far line here, what is that?
This back here?
In front of that.
Okay,
that
this
white.
is 40, or this is Moselle Road
Okay.
here. This is just on the opposite side of the cell phone, looking back towards the field area, the trees for line of reference to identify where it was actually located.
Okay. All right. And can you approximate the distance from the road that you found this phone?
I did not step it off or measure it, but I would say between 15 and 20 feet.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna show you exhibit. Excuse me. Some water. All right. We are looking at exhibit 228. All right. Describe what's in this picture, please.
That is just a more close-up picture of the Apple iPhone recovered from the leaves.
And do I see something on the screen of that phone?
Yes, sir, it's standing water, believed to be from the moisture from the night before.
And that screen, is that facing up or facing down?
The screen is facing up.
All right, I'll show you exhibit 235. All right. And what's in this picture?
It's just the opposite angle on the other side of the phone, more of a close-up of the iPhone.
And you can see those water droplets on the phone.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I see some sort of wine on top of the phone. Can you tell what that is?
Appears to be some sort of plant or
Okay. And finally, 236. What is in this picture?
again, more of a close-up from the top of the phone looking down.
Okay. All right, and this is exhibit 233. All right, what is in it? Describe this picture.
So the reason behind this is to obviously identify the location of where the device was. I had walked out to Moselle Road, gotten to the center of the roadway, and taken a picture of the trees in the field directly on the opposite side of the road of where the phone was found.
Okay. All right, and this is exhibit 232. Describe this picture, please.
This is me standing in the same location as the previous picture. This is me just turning right towards the residence. to show the pitch in the road as well as the start or the break of the field off to the left.
So you're standing basically across the road from where Maggie's phone was found, correct?
That is correct. It would be directly to my right in this picture.
And facing down that road, what's that way?
That's back towards the residence and the kennels.
And whose vehicle, do you recall whose vehicle is in that picture?
That was Captain Ryan Neals.
Okay, finally, Exhibit 229. And what's this picture?
That is a close-up of the back of the picture, or back of the iPhone. That's Special Agent Katie McAllister that has possession of it. At that point in time, we had put it in airplane mode and sealed it into a evidence bag.
Now, you did not physically pick the phone up, correct?
I never once touched the phone, no, sir.
You observed it being picked up, correct?
I did, yes, sir.
And, all right, and did you have any further to do with Maggie's phone after it was collected?
I was provided the extraction once that was completed,
Okay.
but yes, nothing further with the actual device.
Okay. And that was from Lieutenant Dove?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go forward to the day of June 10th, which was 2 days after you found Maggie's phone. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right. And did you have reason to respond back out to Moselle on that day?
It was not Moselle, but I believe it was John Marvin's hunting property.
Okay. All right. You responded to John Marvin's hunting property, and why did you go there on that day, June 10th?
I was requested to extract cellular phones from Alex Murdaugh, Randy Murdaugh, John Marvin Murdaugh, and Buster Murdaugh, while they're all being questioned by SLED agents.
All right. To your knowledge, did all those individuals provide consent for that
Yes, sir, they
search?
did, as well as their passcodes.
Okay. All right. So how many phones did you download again? I'm sorry.
During that time frame, I had extracted 3 total phones. There towards the end, once the interviews were being concluded, a phone call was made to multiple family members explaining Randolph's condition, and they all had to leave and go back into Alameda.
Okay.
I was only able to extract 3 phones at that time.
And whose phones were that?
It would have
was
been
3?
Alex, Randy's, and Buster Murdaugh's phone.
All right. And just generally speaking, why did you download? Why were you needed to download his phones on that day? What was the purpose?
I was tasked by multiple SLED agents to assist them while they were conducting all their interviews to extract the contents of their phone to see if there might be any evidence of the murders in any of their phones.
And was it unusual for SLED in this area to request your assistance with some cell phone evidence?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay. All right. So you downloaded those 3 phones. This jury has heard testimony about different types of extractions. What type of extractions did you do on June 10th with, let's focus on Alex's phone. What type of extraction did you do?
The initial extraction was an advanced logical that I had done there on scene at the hunting property.
How long do you recall approximately that logical extraction took?
Advanced logical was basically just a surface area of the phone, identifying the call logs, incoming and outgoing phone calls, text messages, any emails. General location information, you won't always get a whole lot of location information, but ideally to get a pretty good idea as to what's happening on that phone during that time frame.
And just time-wise, I know every phone's different, but do you recall approximately how long it took to download Alex's phone?
I would say between 30 minutes and an hour. None of the phones took any longer than an hour to conduct an advanced logical. Full file system takes much longer.
So between the 3 phones you successfully downloaded today, it took you between, in total, an hour and a half to 3 hours approximately, you would say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This jury's heard about full file system and physical extractions before. You have that capability, correct?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. But you did not perform that on those 3 phones on June 10th, correct?
That is correct.
And just again, generally speaking, knowing every phone's different, how much longer does a physical extraction take than a logical extraction?
It depends on the size of the phone. Obviously, phones these days are getting much larger. Depending on the size of those phones, depending on how long a full file system extraction would actually take. It could be hours, it could be days. It just kind of depends.
Okay. And did you feel like you had hours and hours and days to download those phones?
No, sir, I did not.
Because what did you do after you were done extracting them?
I supplied each of their phones back to them, obviously because of the issues dealing with Mr. Randolph at that time.
And you felt some pressure because of the health issues of Mr. Randolph to return their phones to him so they could take care of family business?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. All right. And so you said a minute ago, so all you removed from these phones was that surface layer of information, correct? Is that what you?
Yes, sir.
All right. And that surface information includes text and call logs, pictures and videos and that sort of thing, correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
And you said sometimes you get some location data, but not always, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
All right. Now, in relation to Alex's phone, was there a concern about his status as an attorney on that?
Yes, sir, there was.
All right. And that phone could potentially contain privileged information, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right. So you did the raw download, logical download, and did you initially look at anything on Alex's phone on June 10th?
I did not. I was, once the extraction was completed, I obtained the UFDX file, which is the raw file for a Celebrite file. I then transferred that electronically over to Sergeant Paul McManigal with the Charleston County Sheriff's Office, who also serves in the United States Secret Service Task Force, the Cyber Crime Task Force. I also did that with Randy Murdaugh's phone as well. So I had sent him 2 of the UFDX raw files from Celebrite for him to dump into what's called Physical Analyzer to extract the data. At that time, a Tain attorney was assigned from the Ninth Circuit Solicitor's Office. She had met with Sergeant McManigal and gone over all of the attorney-client privilege information, and I was provided a working copy of Alex Murdaugh's phone from Paul McManigal a few days after that.
Okay. But just so it's clear, you said she was from the Ninth Circuit?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And that's a totally separate office from your circuit, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Once you received this redacted logical phone extraction from Sergeant McManigal, what did you do next?
I opened it in what's called Celebrite Reader, which is an executable file that allows you to go in and view the contents of the phone. It's essentially a dashboard that allows you to maneuver around the device itself in a more readable format and identify incoming, outgoing calls, read text messages, any type of emails, photographs, videos, or anything that might be in that person's camera roll.
And in the course of your assistance to this investigation, did you acquire any other records to assist you in looking through these phones?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did you acquire?
I was supplied with all of the call detail records from Verizon for all of the parties that we had obtained information on or obtained a search warrant on to identify ideally location information. What I like to do in my cases, if we have a phone extraction as well as phone records, I like to compare the two and identify any discrepancies or any issues that might occur. But the call detail records allow you to obtain location information if you don't get it from the Celebrite extraction.
Okay. And so you obtained via search warrant or assisted obtaining via search warrant cell records for Mr. Alex Murdaugh and some other individuals, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And those records have been entered into evidence as 268, correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
All right. And you said, you just testified that you took those cell phone records, which, to remind a jury, that's information that's stored by who?
By Verizon, in this case Verizon, but
All right.
yes.
By the cell company, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you compared it to the information you found on these phones, correct?
I did, yes, sir.
And specifically, with Alex's phone, what did you discover when you're comparing these phone records to the phone itself, the call log?
Once I started, I essentially built a digital timeline of all forms of digital evidence that we had during that time frame, and it was kind of a working copy. During that time frame, I compared the call logs from the extraction or from the actual device to the phone logs that I saw in the call detail records provided from Verizon. On the date in question, on June 7th, I only saw 2 FaceTime calls on the phone extraction, and I saw a series of around 73 phone calls on the Verizon call detail record.
Okay. And what did that tell you when you saw that missing information?
It could be a multitude of things. They were either removed by the user or the one responsible for using the device. It could have overlapped from the call log history. It could have been a series of things, but I just wanted to make sure that I identified the phone numbers that were in communication during that time frame, and the lack of that information on the actual phone.
And you just said it could have overlapped in that. What does that mean?
Over time, your call log obviously gets, historically, just kind of removes itself from the call log history on your actual device. It's nearly impossible, or actually I know of no way, to delete any phone calls that you might have made that had processed through the network, or in this case, Verizon.
So there's no way for a user to delete records from Verizon, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
But, you know, in your investigation of his phone, of Alex's phone, I mean, is that what happened? Did his call log just simply overlap? Were you able to determine that?
I was not able to determine it because it was an advanced logical, so I wasn't able to recover any deleted items during that time frame.
So you didn't recover any deleted artifacts of the phone call?
That is correct. No, sir, I did
When I
not.
say deleted artifacts, what does that mean?
Anything that was manually deleted from the device itself.
All right. And there's sometimes a trace left in memory when something is deleted, correct?
Yes, sir, that is
But a
correct.
logical extraction is not going to find that, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. But did you, in your review of the call logs, did you discover whether sometime prior to the June 7th, that there were still calls in those logs?
Yes, sir, there was.
All right. And so is this a case where simply the calls just simply overlapped and the oldest went out as the new calls were made?
It's possible.
Well, if there's a gap, you just testified there were phone calls.
Yes, Your Honor, we.
Did you just testify that there were phone calls from prior to June 7th still remaining on that phone?
FaceTime calls, yes, sir.
Okay.
On the call log on the phone extraction. The report that I was provided, because it was a working copy, was from June 1st to June 10th.
Okay. All right. But there were FaceTime calls prior to that, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And when a user accesses just the phone itself and they look at a call log, will that display both calls made over Verizon? It will display calls made over the Verizon network, the call log?
Yes, sir.
It will-
Anything that connected to the network.
All right. And will display FaceTime calls as well?
It would, yes, sir.
All right. And you found FaceTime calls from prior to June 7th, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And, but as far as you could tell, as far as calls themselves, when did you start seeing call records start?
Right around the morning, late morning, early afternoon of June 8th, 2021.
Okay. All right. And is there, other than this overlapping situation, is there any other way that you're aware of that could have removed that gap in phone call logs?
If the user went in and manually removed it themselves?
Okay. But there's no other automatic process other than what we've already discussed?
No, sir.
And did you discuss with Sergeant McManigal whether his process in redacting certain things, did that process remove any call logs from that download?
Yes, sir, I did review with Sergeant McManigal, and obviously we had discussed the results that were provided to me, and we both agreed on the same opinion.
All right. And that Sergeant McManigal did not remove those records, correct?
That is correct.
For this witness.
Yes, sir.
Understand you, and sort of an alien concept to me, Solicitor's office going to murder scenes. You go to a bunch of murder scenes?
Yes, sir. Among my other duties, I am involved with the ATF. I'm a task force officer with the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms out of Charleston. So I do some proactive roles there, as well as reactive roles in investigating crimes that will ultimately be my case anyways and come into a courtroom.
If they arrest somebody.
If they arrest somebody, in some cases and when no arrests are made, yes, sir.
When they're what?
In some cases, when no arrests are made, I would still arrive or respond to the crime scene.
And you took Solicitor Duffy Stone with you, the chief prosecutor for the circuit, right?
We rode in separate vehicles, but yes, he was along with me, yes.
And I think I saw somewhere in evidence, he actually took photographs that morning, did he not?
Yes, sir, he did.
Is that usual? That the solicitor go around doing evidentiary photos?
Not at all. With the way his mind works, he goes in and he thinks of every idea possible of what could possibly be an issue later on down the road if he prosecutes a case, and he wants to make sure that's all documented in his own book.
And so if he takes a picture and wants to use it in the prosecution, does he introduce it, authenticate it, and take the stand, authenticate it, and then come back down, or he ask himself questions? How does
No,
that
sir,
work?
he does not.
Okay. Let me move on to something a little more productive. You went to a briefing that morning, you said, when you got there.
Yes, sir, I did. At
And
Slugboat Country.
who was the briefing by?
There were probably 30, 40 plus investigators, officers, but multiple, essentially SLED, Colleton County Sheriff's Office, a few Walterboro Police Department, I believe, and a few from my office.
I guess when I think of a briefing, I think of someone standing in front of the room and saying, here's what we got. Was there one person speaking?
There were multiple people speaking, but that was the whole idea, was to get a better grasp as to what had occurred the night before.
But I guess, so who spoke?
Multiple agents, multiple responding officers from the sheriff's office. I don't recall exactly who spoke.
How long did the briefing take?
Approximately 45 minutes, if I had to guess.
And you have no specific memory of any specific person saying any specific thing?
There were multiple people speaking, going over the,
So the answer is no.
I do not recall exact people's names and exactly what they said, no, sir.
Do you recall any one person that spoke?
I know Captain Ryan Neal spoke,
Okay.
Special Agent David Owen spoke. I believe Captain Jason Chapman with the Colleton County Sheriff's Office spoke. There was a multitude of people talking about different things that they had seen the night before or the morning of.
Had they indicated to you, any one of those people, that they had a suspect, that they were focused on any particular person?
No, sir.
Did they have an explanation for anything? I mean, at that point, was there some theory about what happened?
At that point in time, we were trying to identify all the physical pieces of evidence as well as obtain and preserve all digital pieces of evidence to make sure we had a strong enough case moving
Were
forward.
you aware that the Colleton County Sheriff's Department had issued a statement to the public saying, there's nothing to be afraid of, people, you know, this is not something that you should view as a threat?
No, sir, I'm not aware of that media release.
You did not hear anything like that morning? Well, let me ask you this. If you had an active shooter at large, would police take any proactive steps? Would they put up roadblocks, or would they put out a statement, look, we've got 2 people brutally murdered, and we don't know who did it, so keep your doors locked. Be careful about if you see somebody in the woods or walking along the road. I mean, you see these, unfortunately, much too often these days, but did you?
Your Honor, object. Ms. Harpilly seems to be testifying. Are we getting to a question?
Yeah, the question is, did you all do any, did you see any, not you, did you see any evidence of that or hear any evidence of that morning?
Not that I recall, no, sir.
Okay. Not that I recall means,
I don't remember. I wasn't focused on what was on the media.
okay,
at that time.
but did you see any roadblocks?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you see anybody searching fields or the woods around the place?
There were multiple tasks that were provided to each investigator during the briefing, and multiple people went out and did their own thing of whatever they were tasked with.
Do you remember what those tasks were?
Following up with potential witnesses.
Right, but I'm talking about, did you see anybody going through the woods armed looking for a person or persons?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay, you didn't see any roadblocks, you didn't see any active search for a suspect, in the sense of somebody was armed, well, they knew at that point there were spent shotgun shells and spent blackout casings, right? You've heard that?
Yes, sir.
So somebody, either 2 people or 1 person with 2 guns, was at large at that point as far as y'all were concerned?
Yes, sir. I mean, ideally.
Okay. Did any of those agents indicate during your briefing that they felt that there was somebody at large that posed a danger to the community? Did you hear any of that?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So, let me find the critical element here. So, When you got there the next morning, there were no bodies, there was no physical evidence there. It was after all that had been removed.
All the bodies have been removed. All of the trash from the crime scene agents were stacked up. You could see some blood stains in the ground, and as well as some body matter over towards the dog kennels.
And I'm not going to belabor this and put these pictures up, but you had a drone up, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you ever go up to the residence?
I did not go all the way to the residence. No, sir.
Okay, and I don't see any pictures taken from the kennels that you took or under your direction up towards the residence. Are there any?
From the kennels looking back towards the residence?
I mean, but looking from the murder scene back up towards the residence.
Yes, sir, I did take those photographs.
That was during the day, not the night, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, so you don't know what somebody from the house could see at night looking down towards the kennel?
No, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure it was clear that you weren't testifying somebody up at the house at night would have an unobstructed view of where the bodies were found or the front of the kennels. You're not testifying to that, are you?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about the phone. I thought I had the exhibit number of the phone down. You don't know it off the top of your head, do you? Anybody? What? Oh, up there, okay. It's, I think it's 204, which I would find in that box. While he's looking for that, if you continue to look for that, I'd appreciate it. Let me ask you some questions. You indicated the distance from the shoulder to the road, shoulder of the road to the phone was about 15 to 20 feet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you took a number, did you take those pictures of the phone?
Yes, sir, I did.
Was there any other person there taking pictures other than you?
I was the only one with a camera, so I took the photographs.
Okay. And were you there the entire time until the phone was removed?
Yes, sir, I was. I stayed right next to the phone until Special Agent Jeff Croft and Special Agent Katie McAllister arrived on scene. They took possession of the cellular phone and placed it into an evidence bag.
Okay, and during that period of time, did any sort of forensic team come up and measure how far the phone was from the shoulder of the road?
No, sir, they did not.
Did anyone attempt to come up with a specific location for that phone in terms of measurements, a forensic assessment of where that phone was?
No, sir.
And what are those exhibits that were just introduced? Yes. So, for the record, it states exhibit number 204. It looks like the case and the phone are separated. So this is the actual phone, is that correct?
Based off of this case, I remember seeing a camo and an orange labeled case.
If somebody's written on this, that's not you.
No, sir, it's
Because
not.
you never touched the phone.
I did not, no, sir.
All right. And this is a SIM card. What is a SIM card?
It's stored within the device. It's a secondary form of storage for a cellular device.
And so if you, anything you do on the device is stored on the SIM code?
Not necessarily, no, sir.
What's stored on here?
It depends on the network, depending on the provider that you utilize. Different providers offer different resources through your SIM card. But
Did you ever examine the SIM card?
I never examined anything on that phone, no, sir.
You did a download, but you didn't examine.
Not on Maggie's
Oh,
phone.
you didn't do Maggie's phone? I'm
That's
stand
correct, yes, sir.
corrected. Okay, but somebody could look at the SIM card and get perhaps information that's not on the phone?
Yeah, in some scenarios, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to try to figure out, by looking at these pictures while I hold this, I'll bring this phone back in just a minute. Is I want to. Is it still on? Okay, how about get that so we can see it?
I have it also on.
Well, let me, it's just easier for me to put this down there. So that is exhibit number, sorry,
228.
228. How about I push that again? And that's what you saw when you came on the phone, correct?
Yes, sir, that is.
And I think we see, and I think he pointed it out a little while ago, there's pieces of straw and other things around it, right?
Yes, sir.
So you would agree with me, if someone had carefully walked over and placed this phone, there wouldn't be anything above it, because everything that straw would be under it, correct?
It's possible, yes, sir.
Okay. And in addition to that, did anybody forensically check the area around it to see if there were footprints?
No, sir. I mean, it was heavily treed, heavily wooded, a lot of leaves. There, you could not see any foot impressions around that phone.
Okay. A lot of leaves.
Yes, sir.
And so is this sitting, I mean, when it's sitting there with the straw over it, is it sitting flat on the ground? Is it tilted? Is it, what do you remember? Or if you don't?
There was a slight tilt, probably centimeters, nothing major, nothing out of the ordinary around the phone, no holes, no pushed up leaves or anything like that.
So you couldn't, I mean, strike that. Okay, let's look at, let me make sure I get the right one. Let's put this one on there. Okay, so again, that's another picture taken by you of the same phone in the same location, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And it's heavily wooded in that area, correct?
Right on the edge, yes, sir.
And it's almost a thicket where you found this, right? There are bushes around it?
No bushes. There were a lot of trees.
A lot of trees and underbrush.
And underbrush, yes, sir.
Okay. So nobody actually took measurements of where this was found. No one actually measured from the road, nor did they measure. I mean, there's no way to figure out exactly, if you had to go back today and find the spot, could you find it? The exact spot?
Within a couple of feet, yes, sir, I probably could, based off the angles of photographs that were originally taken.
Okay. But you couldn't give us the exact spot, right?
I couldn't give you an exact step from the actual device to where Moselle Road was.
Okay, this is exhibit number 232. And that's a vehicle on the same side of the road as where the phone was found. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And so that car window that we see in this photo, the driver's side, you want to finish that? The driver's side window would be 15 to 20 feet from where that phone was, correct?
I would add a few more feet just because of the roadway. Yes, sir.
Okay, you add, so 28 to 30, 25 to 30 feet? Fair?
It would be fair, yes, sir.
But nobody measured it, so we don't.
No one measured it, no, sir.
Okay. And so if that car was going towards Almeda, you know where I'm talking about?
Yes, sir, I do.
It would be on the other side of the road, right?
On the right lane of the road, yes.
I mean, it'd be on the right, but here it's improperly parked, correct?
Sure.
I mean, the driver's window is, I mean, if there's a car coming the other way, they'd head on, would they not?
That is, yes.
Okay, that's the point.
You
I'm
would be
making.
operating the vehicle on the right side of the road, or left in that image.
Okay, so if someone were driving towards Almeda on this road, and they wanted to get rid of that phone, they would either have to throw it 40 feet out the driver's side window or pull over as this car has and throw it out, correct?
It's a series of things that could have happened, the reasons why that phone got there, but it's possible.
Well, just assume with me for a second that they want to get rid of that phone by throwing it out the window. They could either throw it from their lane of traffic if they're going towards Elmina, or they can pull over like that and throw it out. It'd be easier, when I say easier, it'd be a much tougher toss that far in from if they never left their lane of traffic, correct?
Guess it depends on who's throwing it. There's a multitude of things.
It'd be me, and I don't throw very well.
No. Well, I do, so I could 100% make that throw.
You could throw it from, okay, so you wouldn't even have to change lanes, you just throw it out the window.
Yes, sir, 100%.
And you would throw it overhanded or underhanded?
I'd throw it sideways, flick it.
Sideways, okay. Okay. So there's no way to tell, we don't know if somebody threw it out. Out of the driver's side window. Are you throwing it with your left hand or right hand out the driver's side window? I mean, you said you could toss it pretty far.
I would throw it with my left hand from the driver's side and could easily land it to where it actually was found and located in the woods.
But you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed, yes, sir.
But you could still throw it with your left hand with that much power?
Yes, sir, 100%.
Okay, now let me ask you this. When you found it, you wanted to put it in, or somebody with you wanted to put it in airplane mode, right?
Yes, sir, I wanted to be placed in airplane mode to preserve its contents.
Because in airplane mode, less chance of any data being overridden, right?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Now, that doesn't prevent all data from being overridden, but most data, correct?
A lot, 99%, I would say, to prevent any issue with the phone.
Does it prevent GPS data from being overridden?
From another device?
No. I mean, just
Internally, just
yes.
automatically deleting
Internally?
itself?
Yes.
I've never seen that happen.
Okay. But you don't know whether it can happen or not.
Presumably, no.
So you needed to put it in airplane mode to prevent anything from being overwritten, right?
Any outside tampering from another device that had access to its iCloud
And
information?
you told the agents with you, I want to put it in airplane mode, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
And to do that, you have to be able to open it. You need the passcode.
No, sir, you do not.
Don't?
Not on an iPhone, no, sir.
You can put it on airplane mode without
Yes, sir.
opening it.
You
Well,
just-
but what did you need the passcode for? Because somebody called and got the passcode.
We did not get the passcode at that point in time. No one knew we had located the phone, so there's no reason to ask for a passcode if we didn't have it.
Let the court's indulgence for a moment.
Later on, we received the passcode, but not at that point.
When did you receive it?
I was not present. I did not analyze the device, so
Was it at the scene or was it somewhere else?
I do not recall. I was not there.
So no one told you that Alex Murdaugh provided Maggie's?
No, sir. No one told me that.
Now, if someone had the passcode, they could go in that phone and eliminate, delete text messages, phone calls, just about any piece of data that's captured there, correct? Even apps, you can delete those, correct?
They could have, but once the full file system extraction was done by Lieutenant Britt Dove, we
No,
were.
you misunderstand my question, I'm sorry. If you had that phone, and obviously Maggie Murdaugh had been murdered, somebody threw it on the side of the road, and during that period of time after her murder, before it was thrown on the side of the road, if you had the passcode, right?
Yes, sir.
Open it, Without the passcode, typically you can't open it, correct?
No, sir.
You agree with me?
I do, yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. So if you had that passcode, you could open it, delete photos, delete phone messages, delete texts, delete whatever you want, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you found that phone, it was locked?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. And was there any evidence that you saw that anything had been deleted from that phone in any of your, after your download, extraction?
Again, I did not download or extract the contents of the device. The only thing that I saw was the home screen and made sure that the airplane mode was applied at that point, and then it was placed into an evidence bag. We never got past that lock screen or home screen that allows us to turn on airplane mode. Obviously, the device was on because we were able to locate it through Find My iPhone, and the battery level was significantly low.
Was significantly low?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. Beg the court's indulgence.
Anything further?
We talked about the call logs, and so you downloaded Alex's phone on June 10th, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
3 days after the murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Not responsive to my cross-examination. I never mentioned Alex's phone, not once.
Response?
I'll proceed, Your Honor. At some point, after you were involved in this investigation, you were informed by Solicitor Stone. You were informed by the Solicitor Stone to stop, correct?
Yes, sir, I was.
And you recall approximately when Solicitor Stone.
Objection, Your Honor, again, not in response to a matter raised by me on cross.
Sustain the objection.
And Mr. Harpootlian asked about the crime scene and its state when you got out there, correct?
Yes, sir, he did.
All right. Did you notice any vandalism?
No, sir, not at all.
Did you notice, were you informed or did you notice anything missing?
Objection, Your Honor. How do you know it was missing?
Maybe the witness knows. Overruled.
I knew Maggie's phone was missing, and that's it.
Okay. But you noticed any vandalism or anything?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay. All right. And when it comes to Maggie's phone, at least her model, are you aware whether that can be placed in airplane mode without the unlock code being entered while the phone is locked?
You can place that phone in airplane mode while it's locked, yes.
Okay. So you don't need a code to just simply put it in airplane mode, correct?
No, sir.
All right. And did anybody manipulate any data on that phone in your presence?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay. Nothing further from the state.
You may step down.